Well, hello, people. I'm here to talk about mostly the next music review that I've felt like doing, mostly because I've been jamming out to a lot recently. Is especially in our climate now with George Floyd and everything. Is Run the Jewels' latest album, RTJ4. I found out that mostly why I was thinking about doing it too was mostly because I got an email talking about that they were giving away because of George Floyd and everything that happened in the news lately, that all the protests and everything, that they were releasing the album for free and just asking for donations, right? So what's it called? I really love that part of people where they sit there and not that many bands and artists or whatever usually go out of their way and release albums for free just asking for donations. I think the charity is for the Equal Opportunity Justice charity or something like that. I don't know. I can't remember offhand exactly which one it was, but I'm sure it's something to that effect. But I just started listening to it because it kind of gave me the initiative to start listening to it. I wanted to listen to it before, but as soon as they released it, I was just like, yeah, I have to. And I really love the musicianship of this band, and I love how they do not sound like another rap group. And it's kind of weird saying it from me where I am wearing a Motionless in White t-shirt, right? Where I'm mostly like a metalhead. But yeah, I listen to hip hop and stuff too. Like one of my favorite groups is Kendrick Lamar. I mean, can't say groups, but still. Like my favorite like hip hop artist is Kendrick Lamar. But I do love Killer Mike, and I think his name is LP. I always get it fucking wrong every time usually. But I'm like for some of the names at least. But I really love the social commentary that they always bring about in their music. It kind of reminds me of Rage Against the Machine, where they talk about their certain things a lot of the time. They'll talk about social, like bring up political issues, even if you don't necessarily agree with everything that they talk about. Like at least they are trying to bring awareness to things that come out in the news, especially where it's like to people where you don't see a lot of things happening, or at least a lot of justice. And especially right now with the George Floyd stuff, where a lot of people are just at their wits' end and tired of seeing people dying, especially if they're like from fucked up things. I mean, I don't know if like I've never seen like anything fucked up happen from like white people getting the same things happening to them. I'm sure that they probably do happen, but they just don't get covered in the news. And also at the same time, it's not nearly as the same. There's like no point in even trying to justify the same thing, really trying to get close to it. But unlike how Killer Mike also is like when he was talking in his I'm trying to think, the press conference that he did, where he was trying to tell Atlanta to not loot and go crazy, to like come together as a group, and that's what needs to happen a lot of the time. I think when bad stuff like this happens a lot, it's better for you to come together and be as a group rather than just destroy everything just because you feel like it's not going your way. That said, I really like a lot of the songs on this record. I was just listening to it earlier today too, and like Yankee and the Brave is like one of my favorite standout songs on the record. And then I'm trying to think of all the other songs that are on the record too, but a lot of the beats on the song are just perfect, really, and it gets me amped. And that's what really it's supposed to be like. And it's kind of weird because it gets me excited and makes me want to dance or like do something, like instead of just sitting at the house just listening to it, right? I want to jam out. And definitely, especially from a white guy perspective, where he's not that great at rapping, if at all, there is no choice. There's no point. Like, I could sit there and sing to the lyrics whenever I hear it, if I've heard it like a million times, but like, there's no point in me trying to come up with and do the same shit that they do on a consistent basis. So, but what's it called? This just album is just really good, just because they are not apologetic on anything that they say. They try to bring up awareness for certain things that don't happen. Like, one of the main things that made me think of George Floyd, even though they probably didn't put his this into the music for this moment. But at one point, I forgot the name of the song, but he starts talking about "I Can't Breathe" in it. Where, if you know anything about George Floyd, they put the cop there's 3 cops on him, and then one had his knee on, I think at least both his knees, on his neck, and he's pleading out for somebody to like help let him breathe. He's like, "I can't breathe," and everything else. And that's like one of the main standouts. It's like, I don't think that they purposely put that in. I'm like, there ain't no way that they like re-edited something and put that in and released it when they did. But it just made me think of it. And it's kind of sad knowing that they've probably had this happen to more than one person, especially black people. Like, they've probably had, and that's why they thought of it in the first place, and they were trying to bring awareness. That's the main thing, is that they're trying to bring awareness on how these things are wrong and shouldn't be actually a thing. And that's the sad part, is like reviewing something just because the climate is how it is. Essentially, I really wanted to listen to this record anyway, and I was thinking about doing it later on down the line anyway. But it seemed like the right time to talk about it, just because around everything that's been happening. And I definitely think that you guys should listen to this record, especially if you're a white dude like myself and you kind of shove yourself into a box, or like you have your own opinions on stuff where you don't necessarily agree with a lot of things that are the what the protests are about. Like, you're having your own, you're being in your own head and coming up with your own ideas, and you're not wanting to change your mind on them. I think the people that should listen to this record are those types of people, because you need to be around other people to understand them better, right? Like, there ain't no way I'm gonna be able to know like how most of the like Killer Mike and all these people that have been wronged for so long, what their situation is like all the time, like being pulled over or whatever. I've been profiled before where they've thought that I had weed in my car several times, mostly because how I talk, or my dialect is very slow. You see my eyes look like they're always heavy, and a lot of people ended up thinking that I was stoned all the time, but that's just my natural dialect and how I sound a lot of the time. But so I've been profiled a lot, and they assumed and tried to pull me over and tried to expect. Like, one time I was pulled over and they said that the dogs could sniff weed in my car when I had no weed in my car, and I'm like, okay, yeah, buddy, I know you're full of shit. There ain't no fucking way. But but I'm like pretty much essentially just trying to get somebody to go to jail. Like going for, and this was like me going like 5 miles under the speed limit. Like, I wasn't going super fast, I guess. I was in no rush. But they thought, oh, like, he's got weed in his car. That's why he's driving so damn slow. So, and that's like on a consent, like, if I'm getting it from a white person, just imagine getting it from a black person where they're getting pulled over like a million times, right? Like, where you, as soon as you get in your car or get on a bike, you're worried about. But okay, this is the fourth time I've tried to record this shit. But what's it called? I'm just gonna lead off to where I was. It kind of cut off for my phone, I guess. It just randomly shut off. I'm just gonna keep it in, whatever. I'm just gonna keep going. But what's it called? There's like a lot of the. I think that a lot of this album needs to be heard from like people that don't want to actually understand people's viewpoint, or like, it's an important album that people need to listen to. Like, even if you're not into hip hop, it should just be listened to. That way you could understand somebody's viewpoint. Like, for everything that's been happening. It's like a serious issue. Definitely needs. The problem is a lot of things need to have justice in the world, and a lot of black people don't feel like they're getting justice right now. So, and you don't necessarily think about this shit during this record because it's like all like trying to be cheery and everything else, but they always talk about serious issues every time in their music. Like, even when I talked about the I Can't Breathe thing, like, you don't necessarily think that it's like a serious thing until like George Floyd passed, because fucking assholes, right? So that's the main thing that I think about whenever I see this stuff, is that it should be, you should listen to it. That way you can understand it, understand people more, really. I mean, especially if you don't want to, especially if you really love hip hop, you should listen to this record anyway. Like, because it's just definitely a damn good record, and everybody should be listening to Run the Jewels, especially if you, because they stand out. They're the only ones that I know of that does this all the time. Like, sounds like them, and not a whole lot of people end up sounding like them a lot of the time. And that's always a good thing. If you're the one group that does this stuff that doesn't like, that stands out completely, more people are going to listen to you. If there's like so much stuff, like it's like Lil Yachty and Lil Xan and all these dudes that are mumble rappers, and it's like throwing so much shit in there, not a lot of people are going to listen to your music because you're not standing out. You're not being different. You're not trying to be your own person type of thing. You're just trying to cash grab, or like trying to hit something of the certain time. And definitely Run the Jewels is definitely one of them bands where they just don't give a fuck what you think of them. They always are their own people, and they always want to talk about the stuff that they want to talk about, which is unfairness and justice, period. And like, if they were, if the main thing is if they were getting justice this whole time, this would the protests and everything else wouldn't happen in the first place. They wouldn't be talking about this and protesting and rioting and everything else if they were getting justice for stuff. I mean, no matter what you end up saying, whether they're getting pulled over or sent to jail anyway, it doesn't matter. There's certain things that you need to do to be a good person, and that is not to kill somebody just because, oh, he can't breathe, he'll be okay, because I'm waiting for a medical person or whoever showed up, right? Like, knowing that you're waiting for other people, so you just think that it's fine to like hear this dude pleading for you to just let go of him for a little bit. You know, because, I mean, granted, people sit there and run a lot of the time if they get the chance, but there's a point between where you have to be a good person and when you're not. And that's why when you do this stuff, you deserve your consequences, right? Even if you're a good person, you get consequences for it. So, what's it called? On that end, I'm gonna leave this here. If you enjoyed hearing me talk about this stuff for a little bit, you could always tell me like what album you want me to review next, and if I like the album or whatever, I'll make it another review. The next album that I'm probably gonna do is gonna be for Justin Symbols. There's this, I think it's like him, because he's done trap metal, or at least what I think is trap metal, how I put it, because it's like screaming rap, but he has like a few other side bands. But Justin Symbol has a side band called God Bombs, and he just came out with a record called Plague Songs that I was gonna review. So that'll probably be the more than likely the next music that I review. So but also at the same time, if you think that I should, if you want to recommend me to like any other music that you really dig on, if there's any band that's like a lesser known band that not a lot of people are finding out about, just let me know. Put a comment in the description or whatever, or like the page, or do pretty much anything that you feel like doing. I mean, it's what it is. But what's it called? And I will see you in the next video. See you guys later.